Hi, this is the Utah Defender. I want to go over, I took one video down and I want to go over this. I've learned something which I'll tell you at the end of the video which I learned. But this was my original complaint to the Judicial Conduct Committee to investigate Troy Rawlings illegally arresting, imprisoning, and kidnapping Chase Allan from his courtroom. And this was the original complaint. It says it right in there. You can look at it. You can later on go and stop this and go down and read the complaint. But I'm only asking that they investigate why he was arrested in his courtroom, why he was kidnapped, and why he was put in a jail cell. So then they come back, and I referenced their letter of 1 February. They wanted this following information, okay? So I supplied them this information and gave it back to them. And I told them that I had other information for them. And it was in this letter that they could come and talk to me about that information, and I would give them the affidavit and also the sergeant's name to talk to and the other witness that was involved. So they write me and they tell me they're going to do the investigation. And then they write me and they say they can't find anything wrong. And they investigated not what I asked them to. There's not one thing in here in this letter that tells you they investigated the arrest, the imprisonment, and kidnapping of Chase Allan. And this was a murder that was done on March 1st of 2023. So I write them back. And after I get this letter saying they couldn't find anything wrong, they also say in this letter that they looked at my evidence. I never gave them any evidence. I'll make you a bet that this letter that you have right here, all they do is fill in the case thing, the guy's name, your address, who sent the letter, and it's a form letter they probably do for all, there's 80 cases a year that they do down at the Utah Judicial Conduct Commission. And one person every year is found in violation of the law. So I write them back and I tell them right here, they didn't investigate. They covered up and whitewashed the investigation. That's what they did. And that's my charges against the Utah Judicial Conduct Commission. I asked to have it reopened. They said they would consider it. And then I get this letter, it says no. They're not going to reopen it. And then in this letter, I let them have both barrels. There it is. I'll go so you can look at it and read it. And here's a letter from the governor. He's very interested in this case. We're going to see. I think this is a form letter. I don't even know if there's a real person named Morgan. But you don't see the governor's signature on this, do you? This guy's probably hired during election years just to patronize us, that the governor's really involved in this case. So that's what this is all about. And this is the letter where they said they received my complaint. And it's kind of funny. I want you to look at this because when I do my complaint, I send it to them on the 27th of November. Notice that they said they typed this on the 27th of November. Wow, I must have sent it in a rocket or they were clairvoyant. They're full of crap. There's problems with their doing things. So here's what I want to talk about. And I'm going to do it in a nice way. Our government, for whatever reason, in the Chase Allan murder, I'm going to tell you what I think. That they wanted to go after somebody they considered a sovereign citizen and make an example out of them, because this is becoming, as they would want to call it, of epidemic proportions, that more and more people are learning what the law says. There are laws behind sovereign citizens. They're actually called American nationals. And you change your citizenship, you have to do it, and you don't know that at birth you're automatically put in the debtor's pot. And you are a slave to Congress to pay them money from your hard work. And by switching over your citizenship, you no longer have to pay them taxes. You don't have to pay for license plate fees or driver's license fees. Think of the amount of money that these roadside pirates will lose, and our government will lose, if we did away with that. Who wants that? I don't want it. And now knowing that they nefariously have enslaved us, it really makes me angry. And so we had someone call Diane Allen and tell her that the FBI was involved in training the Farmington police officers to murder Chase Allan. And I believe I wrote the FBI back in Washington, D.C. They sent me a letter, said get in contact with the field office here in Salt Lake City, which I've done. I haven't heard anything. I think that office is responsible, too, for the death of Chase Allan. And they know it, and that's why they're not going to investigate this. And if they probably do get involved in it, they're going to cover it up. There is really something here that's not seen, but which is going on. So by that, there's a conspiracy in the death of Chase Allan. I believe that they knew he had a concealed permit to carry a gun, as all the members of the family did, because their life was threatened by the Farmington Police Department, and I'm alleging that. And there was many run-ins that they had with the sheriff and the police departments about having no license on the back of the car. And, you know, we have a DA, and his name is Troy Rawlings in Davis County. And I believe there was meetings probably maybe with the governor, maybe with the adjutant general, maybe with the FBI, maybe with Eric Johnson and Troy Rawlings, that I'm alleging there were several meetings where they targeted the family to go after and murder Chase Allan. And to try to disprove that, I requested from, on a GRAMA request, which is a Freedom of Information request for Utah, it's called GRAMA, I requested from them to give me the investigative report on the death of Chase Allan. They won't do it. I've asked 3 times in a GRAMA request directly to the district attorney of Davis County. I've asked him to tell me where the gun, the cell phone, and the car is. Can you believe they lost those things? They lost the gun, the cell phone, and the car. It's really important to have the cell phone because it was on the whole time. It was left in his seat. He dropped that when he was assassinated by 3 shots to the back of the head by Kyle Carey, which, if you haven't been following this story, Kyle Carey's job in this assassination of Chase Allan was to put 3 bullets in the back of his head so he would not get out of the car. You have to remember, when you watch the video, the news media, which is the other arm of the police department, they parrot everything they tell them. The news media, all of them, picked up on 3 things. He had a gun, he was a sovereign citizen, and he didn't comply. Well, if he didn't comply, why did he do everything that he was asked? No, he didn't do it immediately, but there's no law against that. There is no law. And I actually talked to a dumbass lieutenant in Davis County who said, I beg to differ. They're arrogant. That lieutenant is a female. She's arrogant. And she has no business having a badge and gun or talking to me like that. And so we asked for that information. We never got it. It's crucial. because we believe that they put a GPS on his vehicle without a warrant and was watching him come up the street. And what tells you that they did that is because there's several dispatch calls prior to Butcher making his initial, so-called initial dispatch call to dispatch for backup. And there is no way 6 officers show up to a traffic stop. And the reason why they did, and I allege, is because they were all going to murder him. Chase Allan was never going to leave that federal parking lot on federal property alive. They were going to execute him right there, and they did. And the timeline again was in 3 minutes and 27 seconds, Chase Allan was dead. And, you know, there was a signal given by Justin Butcher, gun, gun, gun. He couldn't have seen a gun from his vantage point. He was the one that yelled, gun, gun, gun. And Troy Rawlings went in, and you can't see this in the video either. He took his elbow and hit him right in the nose, Chase Allan. Why is it that they told him to get out of the car, and when he did, he was getting out, they went, Troy Rawlings, the sergeant, bum rushes him and pushes him back into the vehicle. Why did he do that? Because he didn't want him to stand up with empty hands to show he had no gun, because he didn't have a gun in his hands. And there is a video that we have that shows just before he shot, there's no gun in Chase Allan's hands. No gun whatsoever. And we have another video that shows Taylor Jacobson planting a gun on the wheel well. Now we know who did that. You don't touch anything in that vehicle. They shouldn't have really, they should have checked to see if he was alive, which he was not. But, you know, they let him lay on that concrete talking about what a terrific time they had, and then administered really no first aid. Nobody was trying to stop the bleeding, clear the airway. You don't see any of that. Or put a tourniquet on or whatever. All they wanted to do is their handiwork. Oh, look, I got 2 in the chest. And, oh, look, he's got some in the head. So, you know, they're terrible people. They didn't care if he was living. That's another thing that shows you that this was an execution. They didn't render immediate first aid to him. But Taylor Jacobson is a terrible human being. You people in Farmington really have to ask that he be removed from the department because he's a killer. Justin Butcher is. And Kyle Carey does assassination. You never saw that, did you? If you go down below, I have a video that clearly shows Kyle Carey where he has his gun to the back of the head of Chase Allan and fires 3 times. And you can tell that this was a planned execution and it was trained for because they circle the car. So let's get back to the real intent of this video is John Carl Inchowski. He is a terrible judge, and we have to go and deflect over to the district attorney, Troy Rawlings. He comes out with a statement written in justifying the murder of Chase Allan, the assassination of Chase Allan, by telling Chief Eric Johnson in a letter that their police had every right to shoot him because they knew he had a gun and it was in his possession. This is how involved that they searched into his background. And I'm alleging they had a GPS in the car and they were watching it because Butcher said to number 7, whoever that is in their dispatch calls, "Where are you?" And he goes, "I'm right behind you." Another guy says, "I'm 15 minutes out." But Troy Rawlings said it was okay for them to shoot him, just knowing that he had a gun. Well, what do you do about the 85,000 Utahns in Utah that carry concealed carry, and you piss off, let's say your neighbor's a cop, or a cop knows you and you don't like the way he treated you at a traffic stop, and then later on he just shoots you because he knows you have a concealed weapon, and they use that as an excuse. That's how terrible this excuse that Troy Rawlings says, he doesn't quote the law. He doesn't put the law down there where that says we can shoot anybody we want, knowing if they have a gun. We don't have to wait to be fired upon. Well, that's murder. And he thinks it's okay. This is our district attorney in Davis County. That's why you people need to get rid of him. He's a terrible human being. And to be so stubborn in me asking for the cell phone and what happened to the car and what happened to his gun, and he doesn't answer a grammar request, which is a misdemeanor, 3 misdemeanors. But you know what? DA Troy Rawlings has judicial immunity, so he's going to hide behind that like a coward that he is. DA Troy Rawlings is not only a nefarious individual and is dark inside, but he hides behind judicial immunity. And he's not forthcoming with 3 questions asked. He could very well give me the answer, but he doesn't want to. And here's the reason why. Because if we got the cell phone and play it, it would exonerate Chase Allan that he never picked up his gun. And the video with Taylor Jacobson pulling it out between the seat and the center console and then displaying it on the wheel well proves the gun was never taken out and pointed at anybody. I agree thoroughly with the old chief of police of Salt Lake City. He said if Chase Allan didn't point that gun at anybody, it's a whole different ballgame. He's telling the truth, where Troy Rawlings makes up this lie that just because he has a gun and we know he has one in his possession, we can murder him. Now, you being a mother, how would you like that to happen to your children? You mothers should be outraged by this. This is a standard now set in Utah. So the other thing that you have to know about that's out there, and again, this goes, I believe, up to the federal level. This was a planned murder by the federal government, and that the county of Davis somehow is involved in the murder, giving orders, and then they trained the Farmington Police Department. They picked this family, and they picked out Chase Allan. And because of how Troy Rawlings makes that statement about because we had a gun, and the fact that just knowing that he doesn't have to point at anybody, we were allowed to shoot him. That is incredible. That's murder, any way you want to look at it. You got to know that Chase Allan had no record whatsoever, criminal record. He was studying law. He was in his 2nd year. He's an upstanding individual. He was a member of the Mormon church, as was his family, and he was a good person. He should be a martyr. And Sergeant Taylor Jacobson, Justin Butcher, Kyle K. Carey, Eric Ganusko, Harrison Chen, and Kurt Pence, and Eric Johnson, the chief of police, are all cold-blooded murderers. They submitted to murdering this child of Diane Allan. This is what our government did. They killed him in cold blood to make an example out of him. And they were more than happy to cover this up because I can't get the report, and we paid for it. We as taxpayers, that's a public record, and there's no reason that they can't publish it and give me a copy of it after I grandma requested it. And Troy Rawlings stopped me from getting that report. As what happened to the car, the gun, and the cell phone. Because I'm not getting that information, it tells me there's a conspiracy at the federal, state, county, and city levels in the death of Chase Allan. And this, you need to try to ask the news medias, which are terrible. I gave them the opportunity to take back the fact. I said, Tell me where he was not compliant. I did it with ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox News, both newspapers, to redact what they said and tell me where he wasn't compliant. Because he was compliant. He opened his own door, Chase Allan did. He was getting out of the car and then he was bum rushed. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. But they didn't expect Chase Allan to get out of the car. They wanted force. They wanted to go in there. And that's what Taylor Jacobson did. He was so jacked up. He takes his elbow and slams it into the nose of Chase Allan. Now, I'm just saying this off the top of my head. I would never do it. But what really Taylor Jacobson needs is his ass beaten to an inch of his life. The same with Justin Butcher and Kyle Carey, because they're terrible, despicable human beings. But what I'm looking for is the death penalty on 6 officers, not 5, because they let Kurt Pence get off. He was another sergeant. He was there. He fired 2 shots at the front window and then said his gun jammed in the video. So I really want the death penalty. They should all die, lethal injection or firing squad. I really want that. And I don't care if the families are upset with that, because they murdered a young man in cold blood. They agreed to do this killing. I allege that this was all orchestrated, a planned murder, and it needs more investigation into it. And how can we have the FBI do it when there's an informant that called Diane Chase and told her that he had talked to Eric Johnson that afternoon, and he said that they had been trained how to do this by the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It's terrible. But you know what? In today's society, it doesn't surprise me, because the FBI has been politicized against the Republican side. So they have gone after, under the direction of Biden and Obama, after Republicans, we who are Republicans. They don't realize that every time a Democrat opens their mouth and badmouths Trump, they're badmouthing half of America, the Americans. Don't vote for those people. They're trying to take your rights away. You know why they're so adamant about gun control and get rid of all guns? They want to get rid of all guns. You've heard Biden say it. Because then they can just walk into your home using the police and get rid of you. You'll disappear in the night like the Gestapo in 1930. And I have 2 grandparents, as I've said before in my videos, that were swept away by Stalin, and no one ever else knew what happened to them. That's the story that I learned from my family. We get rid of our guns, we get rid of our freedoms. Everything is predicated upon the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, to defend the First Amendment. And the other thing I'd like to say is, our police officers are not trained well at all. They might get 16 weeks of training to be a police officer. In some countries, it takes 2 years. They get very little training. And they're big, fat lard asses. They couldn't run down the street if they wanted to. And they have beards. Well, in my age group, you don't have damn beards. And tattoos, the only people that had tattoos when I grew up were sailors, pirates, and bikers. It's to many of us, it's disgusting. We don't like it. We don't want to have somebody that's got a big old damn beard. And a lot of them don't even shave every day. They come up to your car, and we're supposed to respect their appearance when they're a big, giant lard ass, the men and women police officers. What type of psychological training do they get? They don't. Is there any type of psychological evaluation on them to find out if they're narcissistic or sociopathic or schizophrenic? What type of background are they doing? Their training sucks. Now, I wanted to introduce you, as I had before, there is a video on YouTube by PBS, and it was done in conjunction with the Tribune and the PBS affiliate here within Salt Lake City, and it's called Shots Fired Utah. What an eye-opener that is. I recommend everybody that watches this, watch it, because this is happening throughout the country. But the reason why they narrowed in on Utah is for per capita. They went, my God, this is way out of sync. It's really skewed. And every one of the shootings done in Utah, only 3 went to trial, and every one of them were found not guilty. 14 of these people had no weapon whatsoever. And when you listen to this, you'll find out, there's no other way to say it. We have police officers that shouldn't be police officers because they're CS. You know what that stands for. They're afraid. Well, if you're that damn afraid, don't take a human being's life, and you're given a taser. And this crap about, well, they don't think fast enough. They better train them properly and start getting them to do that. The other thing, when you watch this video, I want you to watch the instructors. Find out their name. Get rid of them. The guys that do the post-training for weapons for the state of Utah, they actually hype these people up. They actually say, if you can't shoot grandma or a child or whatever, you don't belong, you don't need to be here. You need to go home and reevaluate yourself and don't show up tomorrow. They want them to be a killer. They're encouraging it. So all these murders should involve them for jacking up and training their people this way. I mean, the training that Utah police officers get is inadequate. And they're hyped up to go out on the street and murder us. And one other thing I want to say about Farmington. I protested down at the Farmington station probably about 8 times. A lot of people in that community are such slugs. You don't want me to use foul language? You should hear what they yelled out to us. And then the other thing you don't know about is I had mother after mother after mother after mother after mother come up to us and tell us their experience with the rotten, stinking, no good Farmington police officers. They're bullies. They're not good people. And that's because they got sergeants like Taylor Jacobson. Look, if you guys do anything in this video, get rid of Taylor Jacobson. He is a complete demonic, possessed murderer. He enjoys this. He enjoys hurting people. You need to get rid of those 6 officers. There needs to be a murder trial, and it needs to be televised nationally on TV because this is an epidemic. And because I really, totally, from what everything that I've looked at, and I have a criminal investigative MOS out of the military, everything points, it should be a conspiracy. I should not have to say alleged because everything shows to me as a trained military officer in the police, military police, that there's more to this than what you're seeing. It goes up to the higher level, the federal government level. And you people in Utah, did you fall asleep? Because I'll ask people all the time, do you know anything about the murder that happened March 1st in Farmington? About the death of Chase Allan. They don't go. And then they're shocked because I said, do you know they did an assassination shot to the back of the head? If that police chief would have showed that whole dog and pony show, if he would have shown that body cam. And the other thing too, I got to throw this in right here. All the body cams were manipulated. Digital is not really a good thing because then you can move the angles to show what you want to show. And that's what the police chief had, whoever it was, do it. They manipulated with evidence. They shouldn't have touched one body cam, but they did. Did you know that? That little show was orchestrated. It was lies. That police chief, Eric Johnson, is evil inside. He is a terrible human being who should not have a badge and gun. Neither should the other 6 officers. And what's worse is Troy Rawlings, the district attorney, backs them up by not releasing the report and not, when you grammar request him for a grammar request, he won't tell you where the gun, the car, and the cell phone are. That cell phone will speak in place of Chase Allan, and they didn't want that. I think they probably destroyed it. So ask yourself this, if this was all above board, how do they lose a car? How do you lose the gun and evidence? And how do you lose the cell phone? You lose it because for whatever reason, it's going to tell a story that's completely opposite of what Troy Rawlings is telling. And I really want Troy Rawlings to know, and Eric Johnson, that you get the death penalty. I know there's nothing there to do it, but I hope you get your ass thrown in prison for the longest term maximal, because you've done everything to stop us from getting the information that we're legally allowed to have under the law. And Utah, if you don't know it, has all these little Utah codes, and you can manipulate them to refuse information from the public. And we have a tyrant. We're going to expose, I hope that you guys send this to Taylorsville City, the police chief, because we're going to show and we're going to go after, his name is Brady Cottom. He's the chief down there, and Sergeant Scott Lloyd. We're going to prove in a video, myself and Utah Cop Watch, that they should be on the Brady list. And they tried to set up a lady on a retaliatory speeding ticket, and they lied. We're going to make horses' asses out of them. And if I ever get the chance to make a horse's ass out of Eric Johnson or Troy Rawlings or any of those police officers, I'm going to do it. Those people are evil. I tried not to swear during this. And now I'm going to tell you a little thing that I learned. YouTube, if you swear, rant, and rave and say certain words, the algorithms will not let your video show as predominantly as it should, so you get no hits on it. So I'm going to try to see if I get more hits on this video than I did where I was ranting and raving and really angry. I mean, I'm beside myself. I am so angry it's not even funny, because everybody, if you watch my videos, the people in the county, when you try to file documents or get information, they lie to you. There's a gal named Rebecca. It's in the clerk's office. And I asked her, is Mr. McKenzie in charge of the records? She goes, yes. So I try to give her a document, and then in the conversation, she tells me no. That's what she does. And if you watch the video where I'm trying to get 3 documents recorded, they're trying to aggravate me and put me through all this extraordinary testing my patience is what they were doing. Nobody should be put through that. And then there's the one lady named Maybe, that's her last name. When I first bought the document, she goes, oh, I can't put this in there because you name names. No kidding. You know what the document was? It was an affidavit for me that if I show up dead, these are the people you need to go after. I have every right to do that. There's also Title 18, Section 2071, where if you bring anything in, they have to record it. This third-party stuff where they have attorneys look at it, and she never did have an attorney look at it. She lied to me. They were just trying to get me to walk out the back door. So the problem with the civil servants down there in the county is that they'll do everything as a backstop to protect the Farmington Police Department and the people of Davis County. So here's what I would like you to do. I would like you to leave your comments and suggestions to me, what you think further I need to do to get justice for Chase Allan. And I would like you to give the video a like and subscribe to me. Please subscribe to me. And we need your help. This is epidemic across the United States. The training is one of the problems that they have because they're not getting the proper training. I listened to a video last night and she says, well, they just need to use the training they're getting. They don't. I'll give you a case in point. In South Ogden, there was a Mexican man who was schizophrenic, and he was threatening his family, and he picked up a knife. His dad regrets that he called the police. Now, all police departments are trained with tasers. My son one day will probably be a captain, and he was the first person in his department to use his taser. The other officers that showed up on site were yelling, "Use your gun, shoot him, shoot him." And John goes, "Why? We just got done with taser training." And he had to deploy it 3 times, but he finally brought the guy down long enough to handcuff him and save the man's life. So he was given a national life-saving award from the Taser Company, which he's allowed to wear on his uniform. I don't like the fact that my son's a police officer. But I wanted to tell you that story because the Mexican guy, when he rolled back the door to his carport, which was right there, it looked like it at an alley because the road didn't look like a regular road. And there's 6 police officers across the street. They try to say there was 4, but there were 6. All 6 of them took their guns out and emptied their magazines into this guy. What's the purpose of having tasers? If they would have all took out their tasers and shot him, I would have rather had them done that than murder him. That's what they did. They're murdering our children. That's what this video is about. You who are listening may have a relative that will end up dead because you didn't do anything that I asked you in this video. I want you guys to call. You can just Google it on your phones. It'll come up. Ask for the phone number of the district attorney's office down in Davis County. Ask for the phone number for the police department's office in Farmington Police and tell them you're not happy with what's going on. Call the governor's office of Utah, Spencer Cox, and let them know how you feel. Write them letters, inundate them. Take your part. Don't just listen to the video and then go about your day. You know, we always say doing First Amendment auditing or cop watching or exposing our public servants, there's paperwork you got to do after each one that you do. You got to do grammar requests, you got to do complaints, you got to write letters. I've done gazillion letters already, and I get no answers back. And Governor Cox, I wrote them a letter to investigate this. You saw the one letter I showed you. Oh, he's interested in it. I'll let you know if he does anything, because I don't think he's going to do squat. I'm sorry if I'm just being too quiet. I should be really enraged, but please help me, and I ask for your help. I know this is a long video. Please watch it all the way through. Give me a like. Please subscribe to me and help me by calling the people I mentioned in here and drive them nuts. And get a hold of the FBI. It's on Amelia Earhart Street, I think, in Salt Lake City, the FBI. Because they're supposed to be investigating this. I was told by a letter by the guy that handles this to write them. And here's something I got to tell you. They said, we don't really think we have jurisdiction to investigate it. So I'm supposed to give them the reason. That's what he said. It was on federal property. It was a post office. Do you think the FBI is involved in this? I do. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. I'll keep you updated on this. And I want to see, by me not cussing, if I get more views than the original one where I was upset. I really believe there's an algorithm. They stop my videos from being watched by people. They hide it away. And so it doesn't get the hits. And so if you've seen this before, where I really am pissed off, I apologize. I put you through this again, but it's important. Thank you so much.